It was just another evening, the kind where the world feels like it's slowing down and you're left with only the quiet hum of the house and the weight of your own thoughts. I had come home from work, feeling the usual fatigue, nothing extraordinary. I've gotten used to the rhythms of my life, and I think, in a way, I've come to appreciate them. The predictable flow of days, the simple acts of settling in, and of course, the moments I take for myself to recharge. That evening, I was in the shower. It was my little ritual, time for myself, time to unwind. The warm water wrapped around me, soothing every muscle, washing away the stress. I closed my eyes for a moment, lost in the sensation, when I heard the door creak open. For a split second, I thought it was just the house settling, a familiar sound I had long ignored. But then I heard it again, the faintest step on the floor, followed by the unmistakable sound of the door gently clicking shut behind him. My heart skipped a beat. I froze, the kind of freezing you do when you're not sure if you're imagining things or if something is truly happening. "Sorry," he said, his voice soft but laced with an unmistakable urgency. "I didn't mean to startle you." There he was, standing just outside the shower curtain. I could barely make out his figure, but his presence filled the space between us. My pulse quickened, not from fear, but from the sheer surprise of the moment. "I didn't know you were home," I replied, trying to steady my breath. I kept my eyes on the steam rising from the water, not sure how to look at him, whether to pretend nothing had changed or to acknowledge the shift that had already begun. He didn't respond right away. There was a brief silence, a moment where neither of us knew exactly what to say, what to do. But then, after what felt like an eternity, he took a step closer. "I didn't mean to intrude," he said again, his voice calmer now. "But, I don't know, I just wanted to be near you." The words hung in the air like a delicate thread, pulling at something inside me, something that had been dormant for a long time. I hadn't expected this unexpected intrusion into what I thought was a private space. But as I stood there, the water pouring over me, something shifted. I felt a strange connection, a tension that wasn't uncomfortable but compelling. It was as if the walls I had built around myself were starting to crumble, and I wasn't sure whether I was ready for that. "Why are you here?" I asked, my voice quieter than I intended. There was no accusation in it, just curiosity. "I don't know," he replied. "I guess I just wanted to see you, to really be with you. I've been thinking about you a lot lately." His words struck me in a way I hadn't expected. They were simple, but there was a sincerity to them that disarmed me. He was being vulnerable, in a way I wasn't used to. And in that moment, I realized that perhaps I, too, was being vulnerable, because I wasn't pushing him away. Instead, I felt a curiosity, a willingness to understand what had led us to this point. The tension in the air was palpable now, but it wasn't suffocating. It was more like a question, one we both had to answer together. I took a deep breath, deciding to let go of the hesitation. "Come in," I said, my voice steady. "But just don't do anything I'm not comfortable with." His eyes softened, and I could see the respect in them. "Of course," he said gently, "only if you're sure." I nodded. The space between us felt suddenly charged, not with fear, but with something deeper, something unspoken yet understood. As he slowly moved closer, the steam swirled around us, creating a cocoon of warmth and intimacy. Neither of us moved too fast. Neither of us said much. We simply stood there, in the quiet space we had unknowingly created. The days that followed that night were different, not in a grand, life-altering way, but subtly in ways that I couldn't quite explain. There was a new kind of understanding between us, not just in words, but in the way we moved around each other. The silence between us wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It was filled with a deeper knowing, a connection that didn't need to be defined. I didn't know where things were going. Part of me didn't want to rush into anything, but at the same time there was an undeniable pull. He was there, always in the background, a constant presence that felt both reassuring and exciting at the same time. One evening, he invited me to dinner. I accepted, though I wasn't sure why. There was something about the simplicity of the gesture that felt important, like we were building a foundation. As we sat down at the table, I noticed how his eyes lingered on me, not in a way that felt intrusive, but with a sort of warmth that made my heart flutter. It was strange to feel so seen, especially after so many years of guarding my emotions. But there was a comfort in his gaze, in the way he respected my boundaries while still offering a glimpse into his own world. "How are you?" he asked after a while, his voice gentle, but his eyes filled with a curiosity that made me feel like I was being asked to open up in a way I hadn't before. I paused, thinking about the question. "I don't know," I admitted. I guess, I've been trying to figure out what all of this means. What we are, what this is." His response was calm, almost patient. "We don't have to figure it all out right now. But whatever this is, I'm here for it. I'm here for you." His words settled over me like a blanket. I realized then that I didn't need all the answers. I didn't need to rush through the moments. I simply needed to be present, with him, with myself. That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about how much had changed since he walked into that shower. How something so simple, so unexpected, had unraveled a thread that I hadn't known was there, waiting to be pulled. And I wondered, for the first time in a long time, if maybe I didn't have to go through life alone. Maybe, just maybe, there was someone who could truly see me, in a way no one else had. It's funny how life can change so quietly, without fanfare or warning. One moment, you're stuck in the routines that protect you from vulnerability, and the next, you're sharing something with another person that feels like an awakening. The past few weeks had been full of small moments, moments of connection, of quiet understanding, of learning to trust again. One night, after dinner, we found ourselves walking through the park, the soft light of the street lamps casting long shadows on the path. We didn't speak much at first. We didn't need to. "You've been thinking a lot about this, haven't you?" he asked after a while, his voice breaking the comfortable silence. "About us?" I asked, turning to look at him. He nodded, a slight smile tugging at his lips. "Yeah, about what's happening between us." I admitted. "It's strange though. I don't want to rush anything, but I don't want to walk away from it either." He stopped walking and turned to face me, his expression serious now. "I'm not rushing anything, and I'm not going anywhere. I just want to be with you, no pressure." And there it was, the simple truth. No pressure, no expectations, just a connection that was slowly growing, finding its place between us, one moment at a time. I smiled then, feeling the weight of it all lift. I think I'm ready to see where this goes." His hand found mine, a small, simple gesture that said everything we needed to say. And in that moment, I knew that whatever the future held, I wasn't alone. Not anymore.